Presenting our next Advocacy Award, please welcome J.R. McDonald.
Good evening. I'm honored to represent Lockheed Martin and present our next Advocacy Award. It was mentioned earlier, but I think it's important that we acknowledge that today is National Military Spouse Appreciation Day. Our military spouses sacrifice and serve and support their members around the world. And I'm betting that there's more than a few military spouses here tonight. So I'd like to take just a moment to acknowledge them with a brief round of applause. Thank you. This evening, it's entirely fitting that we honor General David Goldfein and his wife, Dawn, with the Advocacy Award. General Goldfein is the 21st Chief of Staff of the United States Air Force and a member of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. But I'll talk about him in a moment. First, I want to acknowledge Dawn. Dawn has been inspired by a call to serve. She has dedicated her life supporting her family and the airmen and families of the United States Air Force. She has accompanied her husband on 21 moves around the globe. She's been an educator for 29 years. She's taught kindergarten, first grade, third grade, and she's taught in Texas, Virginia, Idaho, Italy, and right here in Washington, D.C. She and Dave have raised two daughters who have followed in their footsteps. One daughter is a third-generation Air Force officer. The other daughter is a third-generation teacher. For her countless hours of service, Dawn was recognized with the Department of Defense's Distinguished Public Service Award. Dawn has been an exceptional leader on Easter SEAL's Ambassador Committee, helping raise awareness of Easter SEAL services among military families, breaking down the barriers to care, and helping Easter SEALs innovate by sharing emergency needs for military families. General Goldfein's done a few things too. He received his commission from the United States Air Force Academy in 1983. He's a graduate of the United States Air Force Weapons School. He's a command pilot with more than 4,200 hours in several different aircraft, and he has flown combat missions in Operations Desert Shield, Desert Storm, Allied Force, and Enduring Freedom. If you catch him and get him in just the right setting, he might even tell you a story about total team performance that allows him to be sitting here with us tonight, despite the fact that his number of takeoffs exceeds his number of landings by one. Through all the different positions he's held, there have been two constant themes. First, his emphasis has always been taking care of his airmen. And the second theme is his recognition of an appreciation for the role of the military spouses. He and Dawn were high school sweethearts. He has watched her service throughout his career, and he understands the military spouses make enormous sacrifices that often go unacknowledged. They truly are the force behind the force. Even though General Goldfein has a pretty demanding day job, he regularly makes time to attend Easter SEALs events with Dawn to help raise awareness of their vital services and to ensure that airmen and families know that accessing services is not a weakness, it's a strength. It is my honor to present the 2019 Advocacy Award to Mrs. Dawn Goldfein and General David Goldfein.
Well, thank you, JR. And especially thank you for that incredible tribute to Dawn. You know, of all the blessings of serving as the 21st Chief of Staff, I'll tell you the greatest by far is that I get to do this with my best friend, my teammate, the love of my life, Dawn. And thank you, yep. I remember the moment we met. It was in high school, and I was in my third year of Spanish 1. Hola. You know, the chief's office that I'm privileged to work in, and by the way, I invite any of you who are in the Pentagon to come by. We tell the story of air and space power on the walls and on the shelves. And there's some incredible things in that office that tell a story. It actually starts with a small piece of material that's framed, and it's one of the original only three that we know of. It's one of the original pieces of the Wright Flyer that was given to the first Chief of Staff, Tui Spatz. And then as you go across the walls, it walks from World War I to World War II into Korea and Vietnam and across, and it comes back to a picture of John Chapman, who was recently awarded the Medal of Honor, who watches over his chief. And one of the prized possessions in the office is a small Hershey's candy bar suspended from a parachute under glass. And the story of this, of course, if you remember the Berlin airlift, then Colonel Gail Halverson, knowing that there were starving children in Berlin, would deliver candy from a parachute during what he called Operation Little Vittles. And some years ago, a gentleman came up to Colonel Halverson and said, "I want to thank you, sir, for saving my life." He said, "Well, tell me your story." He said, "You know, I was a young boy, I was an orphan. I'd lost my entire family in the war, and I was on a garbage pile looking for food. And something landed next to me, and I looked over, and it was a candy bar. And I want to thank you because that candy bar saved my life." And he said, "Well, what do you mean? How do you mean by that?" He says, "Well, you know, a man can live without food and water, but you can't live without hope. And that day, hope came to me through a little piece of candy dropped from the sky." I think that's what Easter Seals is all about. It's about bringing hope. And for General Milley and I, you know, we have a lot of things that we work to do, but there's one obligation we have as leaders of our institutions that we have to get right. I would offer it's our mirror check, it's sacred duty, and that is that every soldier, sailor, airman, and Marines and Coast Guardsman that we send into harm's way to do the nation's business has got to be properly organized, trained, equipped, and well led, courageously led. And when they come home from doing the nation's business, they come home to their family who we have taken care of while they're gone. Easter Seals helps us perform our sacred duty. And so, thank you to Easter Seals for taking care of our families. And now it's an honor and privilege for me to introduce my bride. She sent her husband to war 4 times. She sent her daughter to war 1 time. And she's had every spouse's nightmare to have someone walk up in the middle of the night to tell her her husband had been shot down. Our spouses on not only Military Spouse Appreciation Day, but on the weekend of Mother's Day. They show just incredible spirit as they endure the long hours and the hardships and often the loneliness that comes with military service. So, ladies and gentlemen, you are already honored all the spouses, but it's my privilege and my honor to introduce my spouse, the First Lady of the Air Force, Dawn Goldfein.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, JR. Good evening, everyone. It really is an honor to be with you tonight. I'd like to say also happy 100th birthday to Easter Seals. Also, thank you to the President, John Horwich, to the Chairman of the Board, Robin Portman, and all of the board members for this award. We are truly grateful for the work that you do. You make a profound difference in the daily lives of so many of our military families. You are the largest provider of disability-related services, and you provide many military and veteran programs. And because of these programs, as Dave said, you provide hope. Hope to those who have served with courage, under and after fire, to those with visible and invisible wounds, to their spouses who exhibit a special kind of courage and are often the caregivers and advocates for their warrior husband or wife, and to their children. It's an honor and a privilege to be associated with Easter Seals, and we humbly accept this award on behalf of our courageous airmen and all military servicemen and women and their families. Thank you.